And none at the middle range of instructions, proficient and on-the-fence students will not will be engaged, yes, but those who are struggling will be left behind. Okay, so what do we do in order to solve this problem? We need to support our teachers with differentiation, but how? How do we do this? We said before that differentiating our lessons takes time and effort, and it's not easily sustainable, okay? And the solution could be blended learning. It's a solution to reach all students. And as you can see, if you look at this picture, you will find face-to-face instructions. This is our classroom teaching. And then online instructions, and then in the middle, we have blended learning. Again. So mainly, blended learning is combining both face-to-face learning with online learning. How? Let's first look at some of the definitions of blended learning. So blended learning, it's an approach to education that combines online educational materials and opportunities with interaction online with traditional place-based classroom methods. This is one definition for blended learning. Blended learning is often also referred to as hybrid learning, okay, and can take on a variety of forms in online education environments, as we're going to see some of the forms of blended learning. Blended learning is a combination, as we said, of offline, face-to-face or traditional learning and online learning in a way that the one complements the other. So we don't teach online or only, we don't teach offline only. No, they complement each other. Essentially, through blended learning, online and instructor-led teaching are complementary, as we said, and create an integrated learning environment. To sum up, we can find a definition like this. Blended learning is defined as a formal education program that is made up of in-person classroom time as well as individual study online using e-learning softwares. It is a type of multi-channel method actually that incorporates tutor-led activities, images, videos, digital tasks, and face-to-face discussion. So this is mainly what we mean by blended learning. Okay, are you following me? Great. So why is blended learning essential for learners? Why is it important, or what are the benefits of blended learning for learners? Blended learning offers the learners convenience and flexibility. They have the ability to control their learning pace and learn remotely, as we're going to see some of the models and how they are done. It also provides learners with the opportunity to enjoy the best of both worlds. Both. They have both. The in-class, the face-to-face instruction environment, the classroom environment, the interaction, and the online environment. So blended learning combines both worlds, and students or learners actually enjoy both benefits of both worlds. Academic research actually suggests that blended learning gives learners a more comprehensive understanding of the course content or the subject content they are taught through blended learning. It's also been suggested that students who complete online coursework followed by interactive face-to-face class activities have richer educational experience. They showed more knowledge, they showed more acquiring of skills, and so on. Social learning is also supported by blended learning, because blended learning allows learners to interact with teachers and with fellow learners. It's not totally done online, so there is no personal or social interaction. And it's not, of course, done without using technology and online. So, as I said before, it joins both worlds, the online world and the offline or on-site or face-to-face interaction. So it actually gives the learners the opportunity, as we said, to interact together and with their teachers. So as you can see, human, blended learning, and technology. Okay, so blended learning blends together technology with human. So human students benefit from motivation in inner and outer motivation, personalization in the classroom, feedback from the teacher and their fellow learners, fluency, listening, relevance, discipline. All of these are done in or happen inside the classroom and joined with mobility. Students can move, go here and there, as we're going to see in some forms. Structure, yes. When you have a blended learning course, you have structure for the course, okay? So what needs to be done in order to move to another task or another level or whatever. Students can track their own progress. They have control over their own learning, and they can self-study, which promotes self-independence and students' autonomy. Reduced costs. It's not that actually expensive, and actually it's global reach, because online, if you're learning online, which is part of blended learning, then you can reach everybody anywhere. Okay, so these are some of the benefits of blended learning. Any questions so far? All right. So some of the common tools used to enhance a blended learning environment or the blended learning approach. Some of these tools actually we all use. So videos online at services such as YouTube, of course, social groups, okay, course lectures and tutorials as what happens in flipped learning, and we're going to give some idea, a very quick idea about flipped learning. Podcasts and interviews with experts in the field, interactive digital learning objects, and open educational resource sites such as Merlot. And I will show you this website. It's very interesting. Let me show you this website. So here is the website, the Merlot website. Okay, can you see it? You can see the website? Okay, great. All right, so this website is a free one. It's an open resource, okay? Here it is. You can sign up very easily, and you can browse to find material. You can add material. You can create material. You can create even a course portfolio, e-portfolio. Let me show you. I have already signed up. Let me show you my account, and here is my account. Inside my account, I have done it just today, so I haven't created anything yet, but can you see all of these material? And here are the types of material. We have animation, assessment tools, assignment, case study, collection, development tools. It's very interesting. Actually, it's a very interesting open resource, educational open resource website. So I will leave the link to the website in the chat box. Let me leave it in the chat box so you can go and check it, and maybe if you would like, maybe you would like to if you would like to, I mean, sign up. Okay, let me write it in here. Here is the website. Okay.
What is it?
Right. I sent it. I sent it. I just sent it. You're most welcome. All right. So these are some of the tools that we can use in our classes to enhance blended learning while we are working. Okay. All right. As we all know, everything has advantages and disadvantages. And excuse me. Merits and demerits, advantages and disadvantages, and so on. So now that you know more about blended learning and what it is, let's think about how you can start utilizing it in your training strategy, in your teaching strategies. But let's first think about some of the major points or pitfalls to avoid before you begin. It will save you time if you think about these points and try to avoid it. The most important pitfall you will need to avoid when using blended learning approach in your teaching is avoid using an LMS, learning management system, that does not meet your needs. So the first thing you need to avoid is to use an LMS that does not meet your needs. You will need an LMS to manage and deliver your blended learning, of course, strategy, including the integration of webinar software. So sometimes you will need to have a webinar like this. So you need to think of your needs, the requirements for your subject that you're teaching or your course or whatever, and decide on an LMS that actually meets your need. Again, you need to keep in mind that what works for in-person interaction does not necessarily work for online interaction. So again, avoid presuming that what works in classroom will definitely work online, right? Because if you think this way, you will find some problems when preparing your material. So keep in mind that what works for in-person training or in-person teaching in the classroom may not necessarily work for online training. You should not automatically assume existing material that are ready for online distribution. Don't think that I have decided to use blended learning, so let's do it without preparing your material. Don't expect that you're going to find everything online. No. Sometimes you will need to prepare your own material, okay, before moving into blended learning, okay? So analyze who your learners are. You need to think about your learners also and analyze them, okay? Identify what they need to know, how far they are actually familiar with technology, because you are going to use technology in blended learning. So you need to think about your learners, okay? And review your course content. What can be used in classroom and what can be used online? Because if you don't do this, you will find some major problems while applying blended learning, okay? Use this analysis, analyzing your students, your learners, your audience, your material, to formulate a blended learning successful strategy, okay? So these are some points that you need to avoid doing in order to have a successful blended learning experience, okay? So what are some of the considerations that we need to take in mind when preparing for our blended learning experience, okay? Number one, we need to think about the technology skills. What is meant by technology skills, okay? We have 8 minutes left for this session. When the time is over, yes, I know, of course. The session will end in 8 minutes. So once it is ended, please go back to the same link and rejoin again. Okay. All right. So what is, sorry, let's go back to the first one, which is technology skills. So make sure your students know how to use any technology that you're going to be implement as part of the course. For example, if your students need to create a video for a project, all right, so be sure to include directions on how to use a video editing software with guidance, okay, tutorials to actually using the technology they need in order to complete that assignment. And it's not fair to ask our students to do something to do a project, to do a presentation, a video or something, using a software they don't know anything about, okay? So this is what is meant by technology skills. When you start implementing blended learning and your students will need to use technology, you need to make sure that they have the technology skills that are needed in order to do the project or to participate successfully in this in the assignments that you ask them. Okay. The second point is technology access. Again, you need to double check that students can access, open, download, use any resources that's used online. Okay, so for example, if many of your students have low or slow internet connections, okay, at home, and you're going to put a PowerPoint and online for them to watch or to download or to whatever, then avoid using too many images, too many pictures on the PowerPoint, which will make it not easy to be downloaded for them, okay? The file will be so large, the size of the file will be large, which is hard for them to download. So this is what is meant by technology access. But number one, the things that we need to bear in mind is technology skills. You need to make sure that your students have the needed skills for actually doing the assignments and doing what it takes to do to work successfully. Number two, you need to make sure that they already have access to the technology that you are using, okay? Because it's not fair to ask them to do something using a tool they have never heard about, they don't know, and to ask them to do something online if they have that needs, for example, fast internet connection, and they don't have this. Okay, so this is the second point that we need to bear in mind. Accessibility, right? You need to design online learning components with universal access. What do I mean with universal access here? And different learning styles. This is what I mean. It's not designed for one learning style. But if you are visual, you will design your material for visual students and forget about auditory students or forget about hands-on tactile students or whatever. So your content or your material that you design need to meet all the different learning styles of the different learners, okay? For example, on videos, if you are giving a video, you can include a transcript that students can read for those who are not that good in the language, for example, okay? This would help second language learners, of course, to have better access to the learning content as well, because sometimes you have students in your class that are not first language learners of your language that you're using, okay? So it wouldn't be easy for them to have accessibility to the material. It wouldn't be understandable for them. So you need to bear in mind not only the students that are the common students, you need to design the online components to have universal access for different learning styles. Okay? Any questions so far? The next point to think about is suitable tasks. As in all educational design, some tasks are well suited to some learning environments and not so much to other learning contexts. Okay, so we need to think about the learning environment, the learning context that we are in. Okay, so you need to design suitable tasks for the learning environment, whether inside the school, inside the classroom or online. Okay, it's good to make lists of which tasks in your course will be suited for online and which tasks will be for face-to-face interaction. Okay, so you need to think of the tasks that you're going to use in your classroom and think in your course, and think about which of these tasks would be suitable for the online class environment, and which can be suitable for the classroom environment. Okay, so for example, the classroom environment is suitable for what? It's suitable for discussion. Okay, face-to-face discussion, brainstorming, right? Someone who could come, and a guest speaker who could come and speak to the students, practicing interpersonal skills, student presentations, right? We have less than a minute, so again, if the meeting ends, or it will end in a few seconds, okay, just go again online. Yes, role play, as you said, okay? So review assignments, between peer review between students, group discussions, role play, debates, speaking activities, practices, providing practice and feedback from student to student, from teacher to student, and so on. So hands-on activities, students do activities using their hands, okay? Yes, games, some games, of course, that need students to physically participate in these games. Okay, so these are some of the activities that is suitable for the classroom environment. What about the activities that are suitable for online environment? Okay, so when the meeting actually ended, we were talking about some of the activities that are suitable for the classroom environment, and we mentioned many of them, and you mentioned some of them. And if we think about the activities that are suitable for the online environment, we can find some sessions, some synchronous sessions that are with remote guests, just like the one, our webinar today. Okay, team project development in online space, where students meet online and develop their project. Peer review, students exchange their feedback for each other. Video and other media, of course, as we said. Some practices about concepts and skills using tools that allow students to work at their own pace, for like interactive sessions and games, interactive games and simulations. Okay, these are some of the activities and that can be used online. All right, reading, viewing, listening, followed by independent reflection. Students can watch or read or do something online, and then they reflect on what they read or watched or listened to. Connecting virtually for conversations and mentoring with students or teachers. Conducting web survey, online book groups. You know, a lot of actually work could be done, activities could be done online. Okay. Now that we have decided that we're going to use blended learning, so we're going to think about some of the strategies that you can use in order to design your blended learning course. Okay, so the first point would be planning the course. Okay, so when you plan your course, you need to begin with the end in mind. What is it meant? What do I mean by begin with the end in mind? Begin with your goal, or how you're going to achieve your goal. The goals, the objectives, the learning outcomes of the course that you are expecting from your students to fulfill by the end of the course. So you think of these learning outcomes, and then you design the assessment tools that are suitable, that will help you make sure that students actually have achieved these learning goals. Okay, so you need to create step-by-step plan for helping learners to start and get engaged in the blended learning course. Of course, if it's the first time for them, so it's not going to be easy. So you need to prepare them very well for this. And then align all activities and assessments along this learning pathway. Blended learning courses actually are ideally suited for alternation between rich interaction, frequent feedback, periodic reflections on learning. So think of ways to integrate a complete developmental learning experience using the two learning environments, the online environment and the classroom environment. Okay, so you need to think of how you're going to achieve this. So you need to design sequences of activities. So before you start, you need to start again designing the activities. You need to design sequences of activities in a way that the online material and the time between class meetings support the classroom time by preparing students for classroom activities and following up on classroom activities. So you need to, again, we said that blended learning, actually, the two environments, the classroom environment and the online environment, they complement each other. So you need to design your material, your activities in a way that the online activities would prepare students for what's going to be done inside the classroom, or vice versa, okay? So depending, of course, on your lesson. Build flexibility in the timeline and the activities to get the benefits of the online time between class meetings. Again, build flexibility. Don't build tight schedule. Okay, try to make the activities flexible for, of course, different levels of the students and the different backgrounds of the students. Okay, focus on the sequences of the activities. Okay, what is the first activity that would lead to the next activity or the next assignment, which would help to with the students to reach a certain point in order to do something. So focus on the sequences and the strategies that are best for learning rather than focusing on the technology. Okay, يعني mainly خلي بالنا the main point هنا, our own goal is not technology. Okay, it's not just using technology for the sake of being up to date. No, it's using technology in order to achieve something. So our main goal is not technology, actually. So that's why you need to try to use simple technology. It's not a good asset. It's not necessarily something good that you're using complex technology. Okay? No, try to stick to simple technology as long as it will help you achieve your goal. Let me, I believe that you're writing, okay. Okay, I'm just reading your comments because I cannot see it on my screen. Okay, so again, focus on the sequence and strategies that are best for the learning rather than focusing on the technology. Okay, and it's of course better to select appropriate technology for the learner's level and learning styles and everything, with a preference. Preference here is for technology that is simple and effective rather than flashy. So again, we are not using technology for the sake of being up to date and I'm using technology in my classroom and that's it. No, we're using technology to benefit from the benefits of technology, the advantages of technology. Okay, so the preference here is for simple technology, effective technology rather than flashy one. Okay, the online material, you need to test the online material before asking your students to get online and start using them. You need to test them. Are they working? If the videos, are they playing? The PowerPoints, the links, and everything before asking your students to get online and start using the material, right? So you need to test online materials and run practice sessions with the technology in order to make sure that everything is working, okay? Again, before, if it's the first time for your students to work or to use blended learning, again, you need to provide an orientation session, a tutorial session, a trial session for the online tests, meetings, and any other material that students need to use, okay? So to make sure that your students are aware of how to use this, and they know how to do the activities and the assignments that you're asking them to do, okay? Plan each course, each week, each session using detailed timeline, okay? Create policies for your students to follow during the course. Create protocols, okay? And communicate them to your students and related to the timeline, the deadlines, the time they need to fulfill some assignments, and in order to help your students to stay on track and to be to use time very professionally, okay? So you need to create policies, you need to think of the protocols, and of course communicate these policies and protocols to your students related to the timelines for your response, again, to their contacts and assignment submission and so on. Develop clear and consistent, again, protocols for students' participation in online. I'm sure that all of us have been through online courses, and you find some of the policies that says if you have to participate more than 70% of the course in order to be considered successful or to get a certificate or whatever, okay? So you need to develop clear and consistent. It's very important that your policy should be clear protocols and policies for students' participation in online discussions. Again, tightly align the course goals or objectives or outcomes, learning outcomes, materials, and assessment together. So your course goals or your learning outcomes should be aligned with the material that you are presenting to your students, and of course they must be aligned with the assessment that tools that you're using with your students, okay? So all right, so this is regarding planning your course. How to manage interaction in your online course or in your blended learning environment, okay? So through connection with peers, students, when they connect with their fellow learners, in learning interaction, students' knowledge can be expanded, of course, and built upon. So peer-to-peer interactions are important to help students learn from each other, okay? And to challenge their thinking in new directions. So you need to think of the policies and the methods that you're going to develop in order to manage interaction inside and your classroom and online, of course. So you need to focus on dialogues, interaction, reflection, collaborative activities, and focus on these and put strategies or policies for your students to follow, okay? Here are some tools that you can use to enhance the interaction in your course. So we have web tools and apps like blogs, wikis, mind maps, social networks, project management spaces, file sharing, and these are some examples. We have learning management system tools, and we have media resources. Okay, so these are some tools that you can use. Of course, not all of them. You can use some of them according to your goals and your learning outcomes, and of course, the accessibility for your students and yourself to these tools in order to maintain and enhance interaction in your course. Okay. Now, some methods of implementing interactions in your interaction tools, okay? So as we said, you need to focus, of course, prepare your students and give them some orientation about the tools, the interaction tools that you're going to use in your course. You need to provide examples for exemplary students regarding the interaction. So your students can think of this exemplary student and try to be like them, whether in their discussion replies, in their assignments, in their projects. Develop online tutorials if necessarily, in order to enhance and improve your students' interaction inside your course. Now, we have discussed the general idea of blended learning, okay? So what are some of the forms of blended learning? Let's see some of them, not all of them, okay? We have here, we're going to discuss 4 models of blended learning. We have the station rotation model, the lab rotation model, a flex model, and the flipped classroom model, okay? We're going to discuss them very quickly. Station rotation model, okay? As you can see in this model, okay? This is maybe more clear or clearer. So we have station rotation in the model. We have teacher station, practice activity or independent, and then we have practice activity collaborative, and then we have text station, and it goes like this, okay? So station rotation actually is exactly what it sounds like. Okay, students rotate through several stations during a lesson block. So students in groups, of course, or individually according to the activity, okay, but mainly in groups, they rotate from one station to another, as you can see, okay? So instead of the teacher, instead of teaching the lesson to all the students at the same time, the teacher teaches the lesson to small groups, customizing the delivery, the method of delivery, each time to according to the level of the students, or according to their needs, according to their learning styles, and so on. All right, how does it work? Okay, so for example, now the teacher divides the students into groups in the classroom, 5 or 6 students in each group. And then we have, as I said, we have the teacher station, the practice activity independent, the practice activity collaborative, and then we have the text station. Right, so the teacher divides the students into groups and picks one of the groups. And usually, if this is done in the beginning of presenting new material, so usually the teacher chooses the students who are low performers, okay, and then starts teaching them or delivering the lesson to them. What about the other students? What do they do while the teacher is delivering the lesson to this group? They are actually rotating to the other activities, the other stations. Some of them are doing the practice activity independent, some of them are doing the practice activity collaboratively, some of them are using technology, and mostly the activities that are used practice activity independent or practice activity collaborative, some of them actually, the teacher, while you are presenting or while you are preparing these activities, make sure that these activities do not depend mainly on new skills. They depend on skills that students have already practiced or have already gained. They work like some review activities for students who are advanced or who are proficient, okay? So students wouldn't feel helpless while they are doing the activity. So teacher chooses one of the groups, starts with the teacher station, where the teacher discusses or delivers the lesson to this group, while the other groups are doing these practice activities. And then students rotate. So while the students are doing the activities and the teacher is teaching them, he can look at the practice activities that they have done and think and reflect on what they have learned and what they need to relearn, or what the teacher needs to reteach, or to give feedback for the students. Okay, so this is mainly the station rotation. Sometimes the teacher stops the station rotation and then teaches something that he finds that it's commonly confusing for all the students. It stops this and then discusses the main problems or the confusing point to the all students, and then they go back and rotate from one station to the other. Okay, so this is the first model, that station rotation, and again it's done inside the classroom. Okay, so the text station, it could be a computer or a tablet or an interactive whiteboard where students do or read or do some activities online, while others are doing activities, hands-on activities, or doing written activities or whatever, depending on your goal. So this is the first. Yes, this model is most commonly used in elementary school. Yes, I do agree with you, Donya. Great. Okay. The second model would be lab rotation blended learning. Okay. So again, since there is rotation, it means students are moving. Okay. So it's some kind similar to the station rotation, but the idea behind it is basically that learners participate in offline activities in the traditional classroom setting. So students in the classroom, they sit, and they do the activities offline, and then after they receive maybe the lesson from the teacher or do some practice activities offline, they move to online activities in a computer lab. That's why it's called lab rotation. Okay. It looks almost the same as station rotation while students are rotating from one place to another, but there is a difference. Unlike station rotation model, where both offline and online activities take place inside the classroom, but the lab rotation requires learners to physically change rooms. They physically move from one room to another, from the classroom to the lab. So mainly one form of doing it, learners spend one part of their day in a computer lab working through the online curriculum at their own pace, and then another part of the day they work in a class with the teacher to reinforce what they learned in the lab and can cover tricky questions. Okay. Another form or another way is that a mini lesson is delivered in the formal training room in the classroom, and those who grasp the subject very quickly, of course we know طبعا in our students either are diverse. Okay, students the classes are mixed ability, students high level, and then we or low performers, high performers, and so on. So those who finish early or grasp the subject very quickly, they move onto the computer lab station for independent practice at their own pace. Learners who need more additional support from the teacher, they are able to receive personalized attention in a small group from the teacher inside the classroom. This method allows the teacher to intervene quickly if learners need additional support. Okay, so is it clear the difference between station rotation and lab rotation? Do you have any questions regarding these two models? Okay, let's move to the next one, which is flex blended learning. Okay, and let's see what it is. This model delivers most content online, but in a traditional school setting. So it's not at home, it's in the school setting. Teachers guide students through learning and provide one-on-one or small group help when needed. This model provides great opportunities for individualization, again, in terms of pace and content. How it works, okay? So imagine a classroom where most or all students have a computer. In this class, the bulk of assignments are completed independently on these computers. Students work at their own pace through a predetermined set of material. Students can take as much time or as little time as they need. Okay, that's why students do the work at their own pace. Okay, they all have options for deeper hands-on exploration of some topics apart from the computer, of course. That's why it's blended, because students are in the school, they are working on the computers, and when they need to do some hands-on activities or some hands-on exploration on some topics, they can do this, and the teachers are there to support and give feedback. So teachers supervise everything, provide one-on-one or small group instruction when needed. Okay? The last model that we're going to discuss today is the flipped classroom model. And as you can see, again, we have online instruction and content, and then we have practice and projects. Okay. In our classes today, mostly teachers, the instruction or the teaching happens inside the classroom, and then students go back to their houses or to their homes and do their homeworks and assignments. Okay, well, in flipped classroom, actually what happens is the opposite. That's why it's called flipped. So the instructions and the teaching happens at home, actually. The teachers provide online material, instruction, content for students, videos to watch, PowerPoint presentations to read, reading articles, whatever the content is. Students go home, they read and watch and listen to the online content and think about some points, and then they come to class in order to practice and apply the skills and the knowledge they learned in the online content. Okay, so that's why it's called flipped classroom. So what happens today in our classes, the traditional classroom actually happens at home, and what happens at home happens in the classroom. And flipped classroom actually is one of the benefits of the flipped classroom is that it gives the teacher more time with the students, to spend with the students, enhancing their skills, and students applying the knowledge they learned at home or online in the classroom, and enjoying or benefiting from the feedback from the teacher. Okay, so this is, yes, the teacher's role, of course, differs and varies. He's a guide and a facilitator, of course. Yes, I do agree with what you're all saying. Okay, so as one of you was saying that in the flipped classroom or even in the blended learning actually approach, the teacher's role differs totally. It changes from the source of information, the source of material, into a guide, into a supervisor, into a mentor, into someone who gives feedback and facilitates and trains students and fosters their independent learning and their self-dependence, okay, which helps students learn more and apply the knowledge they learned inside the classroom. And of course, teacher gives feedback on students' performance. So at the end, if we use blended learning, any model of blended, actually there are more than the 4 models I explained here. There are many other models of blended learning, but again, all of these models focus on mainly using technology, with the benefits of technology, with both the online environment and the classroom environment and face-to-face interaction, in order to benefit our students, okay, in teaching and in the learning process. Okay, so if we use any model of blended learning, we will be able to reach all kids all the time in a sustainable way. Okay, and this is of course our goal, to reach all our kids or our learners all the time in a manageable way. Okay, So again, we said if we combine teacher-led instruction with technological flexibility, we would be able to do this. Okay, so to sum up, all of the types I've talked about, and those who which I haven't mentioned, they have two important factors in common. These factors allow for students to process and learn material in a way that best suits them. And teachers are required to lay the foundation on which students learn. So we as teachers, we lay the base, the foundation on which our students learn. Teachers provide the topic, critical thinking skills. Students apply these in ways that will help them retain the information. Student who can find practical application for information is more likely to retain the information than a student who simply memorizes the information as a fact needed to pass the exam. Okay, so this is for today. I have tried to give a very quick idea about blended learning, benefits of blended learning, types of some forms of blended learning. So if you have any questions, I would be glad to hear them.
Do you have any questions, everyone?
Thank you. Thank you, Nisreen. Thank you, Shireen. Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Thank you so much. Thanks. Okay, here are some. Let me show you some. Again, let's go back. These are some videos. Some no, please. Yes, these are some videos about blended learning, benefits of blended learning, what does blended learning look like, basics of blended learning, and some models. And here are some recommended resources you can go and read, okay, about blended learning. And these are some of the references I used in collecting the information regarding this presentation today. I will send the presentation to Ms. Hannah Sudan and Mr. Saeed. And I don't know how we are going to share it with you. Anyway, it has been my pleasure being with you today, and I hope that you enjoyed the session. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asmaa'e. We are so glad that we have you for today's session.
Oh, there is a question here. Do you think there is one best method of blended learning? I don't recommend the word best, okay? So, because what works for one classroom actually does not necessarily work for another classroom, okay? And what works for one learner does not necessarily work for another learner, okay? So you as a teacher know your audience, know your learner, right? Learners, and then you design or use the method, the form, the model that best suits a lot of things, best suits your learners, the available environment you have, and all the elements that we have been talking about in order to take into consideration when thinking about blended learning. So I'm against the use of the word best, okay, best method, best model, because all of them work according to the environment that are used in. Okay, so you would be the one who would decide on which one of them would best work for your students. Okay, any other questions? Exactly. A true teacher knows how to adapt his or her teaching method to any environment. Exactly. Very good. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Saeed, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asmaa'e. You did a very great job. You are so useful as usual. and very informative to the attendees. And I'd like to thank Dr. Hana Sudan and our attendees for tonight's session. And we'd like to see you again after Eid al-Fitr, inshallah. So happy Eid, inshallah. Enjoy your time and see you very soon, inshallah. Thank you very much. See you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Said. Thank you, Ms. Hana, and thank you everybody for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asmaa'e.
Thanks. Bye.